Hello, I am Xarkun and this is World of Warships Legends. Today we're going to talk about the brand new premium Tier 6 heavy Italian cruiser, the Gorizia, which is the same class of cruiser as the Tier 6 heavy Italian tech tree cruiser, the Zara. And to be frank, there aren't a lot of differences between the two ships. The most major difference that stands out the strongest to me is the fact that the Gorizia does not come equipped with torpedoes, unlike the Zara, which does. And what do you trade in order to not have torpedoes? What do you get in return on this ship that the Zara does not have? Well, as far as I can tell, the Gorizia enjoys a kilometer of extra range on its main battery at base, and maybe it has better anti-aircraft statistics. I don't know. I haven't really faced any CVs, but the highlights of this ship, as you might be able to see, are that it is incredibly stealthy, with Francesco Mimbelli and Gunichi Makawa and Jerzy Swirsky as his inspirations, plus the concealment module. I can get the concealment on the Gorizia down to 8.6 kilometers, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section, but I don't think there is a cruiser in this game that can be stealthier than that. You saw we outspotted the Fiji over there, actually, and prior to the introduction of the Italian cruiser line, the British cruisers, the British light cruisers anyway, were the gold standard on concealed cruisers, but this thing, well, this is very concealed, and that can be particularly useful, especially since the armor piercing is quite good at dealing with enemy cruisers, and you'll note that there are a lot of enemy cruisers in this game. Now, the thing about this ship, much like the Zara, its sister ship on the tech tree, is that it's not especially well armored. It has 16mm bow and stern plating, which of course can be overmatched by pretty much every battleship you're likely to encounter. And also it takes a lot of high explosive penetration damage. Being a Tier 6 cruiser, there is no heal, so the 37,100 hit points that you start with are all you're ever going to get. That being said, the Gorizia does enjoy some pretty thick casemate armor along the sides, thick enough, I believe, to ricochet some shells from 15 or 16-inch guns, perhaps. I'm not exactly sure what the armor thickness is, but also that could be a double-edged sword. Since the casemate armor is so thick, it's probably going to result in battleship shells arming when they penetrate it rather than over-penetrating, and that could spell disaster for your citadel. So you certainly don't want to be giving broadside in this ship, but coupled with its excellent concealment, this ship also enjoys great maneuverability characteristics. It's incredibly fast. It can go above 35 knots, I do believe, at top speed on this build, so it can zip around the battlefield very, very quickly, and the rudder shift, if you spec into it at all, is quite responsive and quite quick. I've got the concealment module in slot 3 on this build, but I've got the steering gears module in the second slot, and I think the rudder shift is somewhere around the 5-second mark, which is excellent. It certainly allows you to dodge a lot of incoming fire, and just its speed and ability to get around the battleship makes it a huge threat, particularly when it can get the drop on cruisers like this because of its concealment. And probably a lot of people out there are going to, I suppose, do this the hipper way, as they say, and build this as an agile cruiser, but I don't see why you would do that when you can build into concealment like this. I think the concealment is so much more useful, particularly if you're going to be fighting other cruisers, and that is essentially why I chose this game to feature. I had a couple other games that resulted in a lot higher damage and better end conditions for my team than this one does, but just the examples of me outspotting so many of these cruisers in this game and finding them in precarious situations like that Fiji was Well, I just think this demonstrates what this ship is best at, which is zipping around the battleship, taking up interesting positions that other cruisers may not be able to hold, and using its armor piercing against the broadsides of enemy cruisers. The high explosive, by the way, is quite good as well. I think it's pretty comparable to the Japanese heavy cruiser high explosive. It's got good alpha strike, good fire chance, and you can certainly use it to rack up damage. The reload time on these guns is, as you might expect if you've played the heavy Italian cruiser tech tree line, frankly disappointing. It sits at 15 seconds, and I'm not entirely sure that that 15 seconds of reload time is justified on this ship or on any of the heavy Italian cruisers. It still seems to me like this gun reload time was not balanced around the high explosive and armor-piercing shells that these cruisers shoot, but instead balanced around the semi-armor-piercing shells that these cruisers are arguably supposed to shoot. And I think if the Gorizia, or any of the heavy Italian cruisers for that matter, had SAP, well, they'd be a lot better than they are. But that doesn't mean this is a bad ship. Again, I can't overstate how excellent the concealment on this vessel is. And not only do you have that excellent concealment, but you do also enjoy the Italian exhaust smoke screen generator, which produces a cloud of smoke that follows your ship at full speed, keeping you concealed for, 19 seconds, I guess. I guess that is what the duration of the smokescreen consumable is. This can allow you to more easily reposition your ship without any danger of being shot at in return. I can turn broadside to this Budiani and that Gneisenau out there without having to worry about either of them shooting armor piercing at my citadel. We'll see here as the smokescreen dissipates and I leave it if we can't get the killing blow on this Budiani, who looks like he's about to turn right into our salvo, and there he goes. Now you can see we're only at 60,000 damage for this game. We've only got 4 ships left alive on our team versus 5 enemy ships, and things are not going to go especially well for us because this Gneisenau, or one of these battleships out here, perhaps not the Gneisenau, one of them is going to capture the attention of the 3 battleships that are near me inside of this Delta Cap. One of these friendly battleships is going to go down, but if memory serves me correctly, the 2 surviving battleships are going to spend the rest of the game chasing the final enemy battleship, which is definitely not that Gneisenau, as he's just gone down. In fact, I think it'll be the Leon out there. The Fuso giving broadside to my teammates here. He's not going to last very long either. We're going to switch to the armor piercing, I think, against this Fuso. Maybe we're not. I thought we did to test out the efficacy of the AP on battleships. Here we go. And I think we'll be able to see when this salvo of AP hits the Fuso that these guns can be quite effective against broadside battleships as well. And keep in mind, I am running Francesco Mimbelli on this ship, as I do on most of the other heavy Italian cruisers, but you could certainly run Luigi Sansonetti. It's not going to hurt you at all, and Luigi Sansonetti has skills that will buff the efficacy of the armor piercing and make it a lot more potent. So you could certainly go that route. You can also get an increased fire chance on the high explosive that way. I just prefer Mimbelli because, of course, his base trait does help a little bit with the ridiculously long reload time of the main guns, and then he's got skills that buff the speed of the ship, the rudder shift time, etc., and just make it more maneuverable. And as I said, for me, the highlights of this ship are its maneuverability characteristics and its concealment. In any case, this Leon has turned tail, and he is going to run away, while my 2 battleship teammates are going to chase him. And as you can see, initially I was thinking about chasing him as well, and I'm sort of committed to that, but I'm taking some fire from the other side of the map, and that is courtesy of one of the 2 remaining enemy cruisers. And as you can see, one of those enemy cruisers has entered the Charlie Cap. So it is at this moment that I smoke up, I realize I'm going to have to turn broadside to where the Leon is located, and I'm going to turn around and try to take out these two enemy cruisers because it seems like my battleship teammates are hell-bent on chasing the kiting Leon, which frankly I don't think that's a winning proposition. If we can kill these two cruisers and we can prevent the cruisers from taking the Charlie Cap, then we have a better shot of winning. The point situation is very close. The Leon is no threat to any cap, and if he takes himself out of the game, there is no reason to follow him. My battleship teammates are chiming in against this Duca d'Aosta, and you could see, even while that guy was slightly angled, our armor piercing was able to hit his citadel. We're probably holding on to our shot a little bit too long here, but he gives us mostly broadside, and we strike his citadel again twice. Again, the armor piercing on this cruiser is quite effective, and this concealment really synergizes well with that efficacy of the AP. Allows you to get close to cruisers. You're pretty much going to outspot any cruiser that you come across if you build this ship for stealth. And having that stealth that allows you to get broadsides more easily, plus the smokescreen consumables to disengage, it is a potent combination, and I do think it makes this ship rather fun. Frankly, I enjoy this ship. I think it's alright. I saw a lot of, well, maybe not a lot of hype, but a little bit of hype across the community before this ship was released on Reddit and Discord and forums like that. People seem to be quite excited about this ship. I'm not exactly sure why, because again, this is basically a Zara without torpedoes, a little bit of extra gun range, and amazing concealment. Now, I don't think I actually have the Zara built fully for concealment. I think I might be running double rudder shift on the Zara for a more agile build, but I may revisit the Zara and revisit my build on it, because I'm sure the Zara can be probably about as stealthy as this ship. Maybe it can't get down to 8.6 kilometers, but I bet it can get down close to it. In any case, we're able to take out that Duca d'Aosta over there, but the other cruiser has succeeded in capturing the Charlie Cap, and the two battleship teammates of mine who were chasing that Leon have completely failed to catch up to him. In fact, they lost sight of him for a while, so they are not going to be able to take him down, and if this other enemy cruiser knows what's good for him, well, he's just going to run away and not die, just like the Leon. That's all these two have to do. They have the majority of caps. Even if my battleship teammate does manage to get himself onto that Bravo cap there, and even if I manage to get into the Charlie cap here, I don't think there's enough time to overtake the enemy on points. There's the München, though, and maybe we'll be able to take him out over this island. Unfortunately not. It looks like we miss most of our shells there. I will say that Prince Blip, the esteemed community manager for the World of Warships Legends online community, he did let us know that the Gorizia has some of the best Sigma in the game. I think it's got a Sigma value of, what did he say, 2.1, which is second only to the Stalingrad. So these guns are quite accurate a lot of the time on this cruiser, and that is a very nice thing. Nevertheless, the accuracy of these guns is not going to be enough to win us this game. We're trying to potentially get shots on this München before we go down. Doing that involves giving broadside to him momentarily, which could have been disastrous for us. We do have his broadside, but over-penetrations are abound. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe the München has that cruiser turtleback armor, and those over-penetrations are likely the result of these armor-piercing shells penetrating the first layer of armor, hitting that sloped citadel plating, and then bouncing off and shooting out of the ship, registering as overpens. We do get the Confederate medal there, though, with that chunky AP salvo on the München, but it's too little too late. The game is only got less than 10 seconds left to go, and we are going to lose. But hopefully this game gives you an idea of the Gorizia's strengths, which again, in my mind, are its excellent maneuverability and concealment characteristics. I think it's a fun ship, but if you're not sold on the heavy Italian cruisers and you haven't played the Zara, I wouldn't recommend you pick it up. If you don't know whether you like the Italian cruiser line, then, well, it's likely you're not going to like this ship unless you like that line. Put it that way. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.